Hey everyone, before we start, drop a quick comment with your name and where you're watching from, and let me know if you're staying till the end. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like the video, and share it with your friends. Alright, let's dive into the story. I never planned to become what people whisper about in the dark. I never asked for my name to drip down from trembling lips, for children to have nightmares about my smile, for shadows to curl around my figure when they hear the words Jeff the Killer. But stories travel faster than truth. So tonight, I'm going to tell you exactly how it all happened. I am not asking you to believe me. I am telling you. The paper-thin walls of this motel vibrate with the hum of traffic outside. Neon signs flicker like failing hearts, and in the mirror across from me, I still see the pale, ruined ghost of what I've become. My story isn't pretty, it's not cinematic, it reeks of gasoline, blood, and fear. If you want a fairy tale, close this file now. But if you want to know how an American suburban boy morphed into the nightmare that sends kids under their sheets most nights, keep reading. I grew up in a small neighborhood on the outskirts of Houston, Texas. Noise was constant. Lawnmowers on Saturdays, radios spilling out of car windows, cicadas in the summer air. People believed our street was safe. White picket fences, mailboxes neatly lined up, a cul-de-sac where kids played basketball until the sun dipped behind roofs. I wasn't a bad kid. I wasn't special either. My parents, Evelyn and Mark, worked to keep the house standing. Dad was a service mechanic at a dealership. Mom worked part-time at a grocery store. We weren't poor, but we weren't comfortable either. I remember my younger brother, Liu. He always had this nervous smile, like he knew something bad was going to happen before the rest of us did. Funny thing is, he was right most of the time. When I was 14, we moved into a larger place deeper into the suburbs. Mom called it an upgrade, though the walls were cracking and the smell of dampness greeted us every morning. That's when things started unraveling for me. Kids at the new school didn't welcome outsiders. I wasn't afraid to fight. Maybe that's when the violent itch settled into me. The thrill of making someone stumble back, wide-eyed, watching blood trickle from their nose because of me. But sometimes the thrill lingered longer than it should have. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling fan spin, imagining the crunch of bones, the heat of adrenaline. It felt good, too good. It was a summer night in July when the incident happened, the one everyone ties to my name. A kid named Randy threw a house party just a few blocks away. Liu convinced me to go. Music rattled the windows, alcohol spilled across furniture, and sweaty teenagers yelled like animals in cages. I didn't belong there. I knew that. But Randy and his group of friends made sure I remembered it. Words turned into shoves. Shoves turned into punches. 3 against me. I fought back harder than I should have. I didn't just fight. I destroyed them. Something inside me snapped that night. All I remember is fists striking skin until faces blurred. When I finally stopped, Randy was choking on his broken teeth, his friends groaning in sick pools of themselves. Blood dotted my shirt like artwork. Everybody had gone quiet. Music was still playing, but all I could hear was my breathing. Someone screamed, "What the hell is wrong with you, Jeff?" And I didn't know how to answer. Later that week, vengeance came. Randy's gang wasn't going to let it go. They cornered Lou and me near an abandoned lot, fists filled with knives and bottles. The fight wasn't just fists anymore. It was chaos. One of them lunged at me with a bottle. I deflected, and it shattered. Gasoline from a broken container spilling across the ground. Somebody laughed nervously. Then came the lighter. The flash was the last warmth I ever felt. Flames swallowed me like a hungry animal. I remember my skin screaming, the stench of my flesh roasting, and Lou's voice breaking the night. I didn't die. I woke up days later in a hospital bed, sheets sticking to what was left of my body. The doctor's eyes gave it away before the mirror did. By the time they removed the bandages, I already knew. My face had melted into a stretched mask, lips torn upward like a carved smile, skin pale white, eyelids scorched so wide open that sleep would forever escape me. My parents cried. Liu tried to hold me, but I pushed him away. Their pity wasn't what I wanted. I wanted silence. I wanted the mirror to show me anyone else.
It didn't take long for the madness to creep in. At first, it was the insomnia. Nights stretched endlessly, hours crawling on with nothing but the hum of fluorescent lights and the sound of my mother crying in the next room. Without sleep, my mind became a kaleidoscope of hallucinations. Voices crept in, whispers telling me that life was fragile, that pain was a gift, that death was a kindness only I could deliver. I would stare in the mirror, my mutilated grin staring back, and I began laughing. Not because it was funny, but because my face finally matched the chaos boiling inside. It wasn't planned. I walked at night, unable to stay in that suffocating house filled with their whispers and worry. I wandered until I spotted him, a drunk man stumbling out of a bar, cigarette dangling from his lips. He didn't even hear me approach. The knife in my hand was heavy, cold, perfect. I remember the way his eyes bulged when it cut into him, how quickly drunk confusion turned into terror. The whisper in my head was clear this time, "Go to sleep." And so I said it aloud, my first words to my first victim. After that night, there was no going back. Houston's news churned with mutilated vagrant stories, parents keeping children locked indoors, whispers about a smiling figure in the shadows. Police sketches went nowhere. Nobody could trace it back to me. I wasn't Jeff Woods anymore. I wasn't a teenage boy with acne scars and a nervous brother. I was the shadow that children swore they saw at their windows. I was insomnia with a knife. I was the words that froze them in their sheets. Go to sleep. As weeks stretched, dozens of lives ended at my hands. Sometimes it was quick. Sometimes I carved my grin into them before letting them fade. Sometimes I sat beside them as the blood pooled, whispering lullabies until silence swallowed the room. I didn't kill because of revenge anymore. I killed because it was what I was made for. I left Texas eventually. I moved like a ghost across the United States, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Tennessee, Ohio. Everywhere I went, bodies followed. Motels became my sanctuaries. Abandoned barns, empty subway tunnels, desolate parking garages. I turned them into playgrounds of nightmares. The FBI tried, states linked the killings, but with no fingerprints, no face to match, no pattern besides mutilation and whispers reported by survivors. They were chasing fog. I became America's traveling campfire story. Kids dared each other to shout, "Go to sleep," in bathrooms at school. Parents banned them from going online. They didn't realize the real Jeff wasn't an internet joke. I was on the next highway, maybe the next town, and I was always watching. The only person I couldn't stay away from was Lou. Years later, when I crept back into our old neighborhood, he was still there, though changed, stronger, hardened. He heard the stories, and he knew. He didn't run when he saw me. He clenched his fists and whispered, "Why, Jeff?" I didn't have an answer. I looked at my brother and wanted to kill him, to silence the only tether I still had to humanity. But my hand shook when I raised the knife. For the first time since the fire, I hesitated. I vanished before he had the chance to strike me back. And now I sit here in this blinking motel on the edge of Omaha, writing it down because maybe someone should know the truth before my story warps further into myths. I am Jeff, born in suburban Texas, forged by fire, crafted by sleepless nights, drenched in laughter and screams. They won't catch me. They never do. Tomorrow, I'll be another shadow drifting across another interstate. And if you're reading this in the dark, maybe you've already heard the creak outside your window. Maybe you'll hear the whisper too. Go to sleep. They say monsters live only in the dark. That's wrong. I've walked beneath glowing neon signs, under buzzing fluorescence in gas stations, in grocery aisles at 2 a.m., and no one noticed me. The truth is, monsters don't hide. People just refuse to look. After that motel night in Omaha, I hit the road again. Highways became veins pulsing through America, carrying me from one town to the next. Truck stops, diners that never closed, and motels with flickering vacancy signs were my blood vessels, my pulse. I stole cars when I had to, hitchhiked if my face was hidden in a hood. People trusted me because no one wanted to believe the man sitting next to them with scars and pale skin was the thing they read about online. Humans crave comfort, not truth. Every state smelled different. Mississippi reeked of swamp rot and gasoline. Nevada baked me until my burned skin felt like parchment tearing at the seams. Kentucky gave me the quiet of farmlands, crickets chirping over fields where screams carried too far in the night. And everywhere my knife cut the same.
It started as rumors. Kids online daring each other to whisper my name in mirrors, just like they did with Bloody Mary or Candyman. But something changed. People began seeking me out. It happened first in Ohio. A girl, barely 16, waited in a desolate parking garage. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but devotion. She whispered, "Jeff, let me see you." For the first time, I realized I wasn't just a story people feared. I was one they worshipped. Broken kids, hollow kids, kids with scars like mine, they reached out to me. Some wanted to die at my hands. Others wanted to learn. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but more came. Across motels, cemeteries, abandoned malls, I'd find them sitting silently in the dark, waiting. They named themselves the Sleepers. A cult born out of internet legend, claiming me as their father figure. They painted their faces pale, carved smiles into mirrors, and recited my words, "Go to sleep." I never asked for disciples, but they followed me anyway. Not everyone feared me. Some hunted me. In Reno, a man caught me off guard in an alley. Ex-military, scar down his cheek, wearing a badge that wasn't police but felt official. He called me Project Zero. When I pressed the knife against his throat, he didn't scream. He smiled. "There are others like you, and we are going to end you." I left him to rot, but his words curled into me. Others like me, burned, sleepless, grinning, the idea festered. Later, in Detroit, I saw her. A woman in the shadow of a broken factory, tall, pale as frost, with black lips curled in a grin too familiar to ignore. In her hand, not a knife, but scissors gleaming in the dim. She looked at me like a mirror looks back, but she didn't attack. She whispered only one thing, "We're all awake now." Then she was gone. Killing stopped being random. It wasn't about rage anymore. It became a philosophy. Every victim I gave the same kindness, rest, not mercy. No, mercy implies forgiveness. I offered what I couldn't have. Eternal silence, eternal sleep. Children, teenagers, adults, it didn't matter. Those who feared the world, I calmed with a final whisper. Those who clung to life, I carved into stillness. And the more I killed, the lighter I felt. Like pieces of myself bled out with each body. Maybe that's the curse. The more I give sleep to others, the more awake I remain. Eyes stretched wider, nerves buzzing endlessly. I will never sleep. Only watch. Only wonder. Police reports built up across states. Headlines screamed, "Jeff the Killer strikes again." My legend outpaced my truth. Some said I carried a hatchet. Some claimed my grin stretched ear to ear from a knife scar. Others said my eyelids had been cut away. Stories became myths. I let them grow. Fear is sharper than any blade. If people thought I was everywhere at once, their terror would do most of my work for me. But behind every exaggeration was still me, still Jeff, still the boy who lost sleep to fire all those years ago. He found me again in Chicago. This time there was no hesitation. He was older, stronger, colder. The nervous smile was gone, replaced with a soldier's glare. He tracked me through alleys until finally, in the rain, we stood face to face. "Stop," he said. "Stop, Jeff, or I will." Even with his fists clenched, with his voice breaking, I wanted to laugh. My brother, still clinging to hope that I could be saved. But when he swung at me, I didn't fight back. Not because I was weak, but because for the first time, I felt tired. Not of killing, but of explaining. He beat me until blood mixed with rain, and when he finally collapsed in exhaustion, I whispered to him, You will never stop me. I am the knight America whispers about. And I left him again, because somehow Liu still made me hesitate. Now I drift west again. Motels whisper, diners grow quiet when I leave, newspapers chase ghost stories that happen to be true. And I ask myself every night, knife in hand, if I go to sleep, does America wake up? Do the cultists stop? Do the whispers end? I know the answer. I can't stop. Not while there are people waiting in shadows. Not while there's someone right now reading this, wondering if that creak outside wasn't just the house settling. Monsters don't choose armies. Armies choose monsters. I never asked for worshippers. But the thing about stories is they grow legs. They walk into people's lives, and the broken ones always want to be part of something bigger. That's how the sleepers found me.
It happened in Pennsylvania, half a year after my fight with Liu. A storm cloaked the night, thunder bleeding across the rusted frame of an abandoned church. Its windows had been boarded, but faint light flickered inside. I thought it was squatters or addicts. Instead, I stepped into an altar built for me. Dozens of them sat in neat rows, their faces smeared white with chalk, black paint stretching into grins. In candlelight, their eyes shone wide, as if sleep hadn't touched them for days, months maybe. The girl who first found me in Ohio stood there, older, sharper, holding a knife like it was scripture. She bowed when she saw me. "Father," she said. The others echoed in whispers, like wind through leaves. "Father." And for the first time, I saw echoes of myself, not in mirrors, but in their hungry eyes. They had rules. The sleepers had written a doctrine from whispers, piecing together urban legends and my real acts. Those who cannot sleep shall spread his gift. Those denied peace shall carve the smile of forever. All must share the phrase before the blade, "Go to sleep." Some had scars on their cheeks where they tried to imitate my grin. Others carried kitchen knives, rusted switchblades, anything sharp enough to deliver the gift. They weren't killers like me, not yet. They were children of myth, disciples chasing approval from their nightmare priest. And they wanted my blessing. One boy, no older than 15, was pushed to the front. He shook as they handed him a knife. The sleeper leader whispered, "Show him." At first, I laughed. This was theater, kids dressing wounds with my name. But the boy looked at me like salvation hung in my silence. His hand clutched the knife too tight, so tight it carved his own palm. He dragged forward a man they'd tied up, some drunk they'd kidnapped off the street, gagged and wide-eyed. Here was the moment. A boy, a victim, an audience. They wanted me to nod, to smile, to confirm the death of innocence. Instead, I snatched the knife, swift as lightning. Before anyone breathed, the blade buried itself in the hostage's chest. Blood sprayed across the candles, hissing as it kissed the flame. I leaned close to the dying man's ear. "Go to sleep." The cult gasped. Some wept, some clapped. The boy fell to his knees, sobbing not in fear, but joy, because he had seen the real thing. That was then I realized I was no longer the story. I was the scripture. Weeks passed, and I let the sleepers linger. They trailed me across towns, spreading chaos like scavengers at a battlefield. But they were sloppy. Headlines screamed, "Killer cult claims inspiration from Jeff the Killer." Police raided hidden basements where sleepers painted walls with my smile and carved their doctrine into skin. Their devotion was fire, but fire makes smoke, and smoke calls hunters. The FBI grew louder. Special units were forming. My myth had always hidden me. Now my cult was exposing me. And still, late at night, when they begged for my stories, I gave them truths dressed as sermons. I whispered the philosophy of sleep. They stared wide-eyed, desperate to learn. I didn't lead them out of kindness. I wanted to see how far madness could spread. It ended in Arkansas. The police tracked one of the sleepers to an abandoned schoolhouse. When I arrived, flashlights already pierced the gloom. Sirens painted the air red and blue. Silent snipers perched on roofs. I told the cult to scatter, but they didn't. They prayed instead. They thought I would make them vanish like a myth dissolving light. When bullets ripped through the door, the sleeper screamed my name. Some rushed the agents with knives. They fell in seconds, bodies riddled, blood painting chalk-white faces crimson. I didn't save them. Monsters don't save. I slipped through broken windows, vanishing into the forest while their screams echoed behind me. The cult dissolved that night. Not killed, dissolved. Fear replaced devotion. The survivors scattered, hiding under the internet's fabric again. But I know they'll return. Broken children always seek their father. Now I walk alone once more. No army at my back, no disciples kneeling at my feet. Just me, my blade, and the roads that never end. But the silence feels heavier. The cult was a mirror of myself, reflected too many times until it cracked. Without them, there's only the void again, the wakefulness, the endless night. And when I pass neon signs that buzz in the midnight air, I hear them still whisper. Voices of children in chalk masks. Father, Father, go to sleep, Father. I never wanted their worship, but maybe I did.
After the fall of the sleepers, I drifted further south, through cracked highways and ghost towns. I didn't run from the FBI anymore. I didn't hunt victims with the same hunger either. I was tired. Not weak, not finished, but tired in a way deeper than muscle or bone. A weight pressing down like years of insomnia crushing my chest. For the first time since the fire, I wondered, could Jeff Woods still exist beneath the mask they call Jeff the Killer? Or was that boy buried in the ashes, screaming to be heard, but smothered under laughter and screams? It was in New Orleans where the end began, a city drenched in music and ghosts. Shadows spilled from every alley, not afraid of me, welcoming me. And there she was again, the pale woman with the scissors. This time she didn't vanish. She approached under the buzzing glow of a broken street lamp, each step echoing like nails down a coffin lid. "You've carved your story," she said, "but you're not the only one awake. There are others." I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. My throat was too dry. "You want me to join you?"
"No," she whispered. "We want you to end." It wasn't police. It wasn't my brother. It wasn't even the sleepers. The end came from my own kind. The sleepless children of fire, rage, and scars. Others who carried the same curse. They surrounded me in the abandoned graveyard outside the city. Figures pale and grinning, each with their own tools of death. Scissors, hatchets, hooks, blades. All insomniacs. All killers born of pain. All smiling like me. I fought. I carved through them with my knife, laughter echoing against tombstones, blood spilled across cracked marble, screams rising into the humid night. But for every one I cut down, another stepped forward. And then came her scissors, gleaming like silver lightning. They carved across my torso, tearing me open. Blood flooded my chest. My grin faltered for the first time since the fire. I dropped to my knees. Through the haze of pain, I saw him. Liu, standing at the edge of the graveyard. He hadn't raised a fist. He hadn't drawn a weapon. He just watched. Our eyes met. His lips trembled, caught between hate and sorrow. He said, "I told you it had to stop." And for once, I agreed. My body collapsed among the gravestones. A smile still etched across my ruined face, but no strength left to carry it forward. The killers vanished into night, maybe to continue their curse. Liu stayed a moment longer, staring at me like the boy I used to be was staring back through burning flesh. Then he walked away. No police came. No headlines screamed my death. Jeff the killer didn't end with sirens or handcuffs. He ended in silence, in a graveyard that already belonged to ghosts. People still whisper my name. Kids still dare each other at sleepovers to look in mirrors and mutter, "Go to sleep." They'll never know how it ended. My myth will keep walking even when I don't. Stories don't need bodies to survive. But now, finally, I close my eyes. The first time since the fire. Not wide, not screaming, just closed. And the darkness is quiet. Go to sleep.